All right, it is the last Olight sale of the year, and I've been inundated with questions about the Arcflex as well as the Seeker 4. So I'll be talking about my experience with these flashlights. We'll also be going over a couple of really cool little keychain multifunctional tools as well, talking about the sale and how you might be able to get your order for free. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we talk about these, let's discuss how you can get your order for free. So if you make an order through one of the affiliate links that's linked down below, either in the description or the pinned comment, you should come back here and fill out the Google document that is also listed in both of those locations. What that's going to do is enter you to potentially have that order paid for by Olight. So they're doing this in such a way that 1 in 20 orders will be paid for. Now, it could be a $300 order or a $30 order. They will pay it no matter what the amount actually is. But it's random. So basically how it's going to work, you need to purchase something. So it could be a small item, it could be a big item, but it has to be more than just a free thing that you get just for logging in, okay? You come back, you enter that order number, your email. I will then draw a name, one for every 20 entries, okay? And then I will announce it in the community section of the YouTube channel, and I will also be forwarding the emails to Olight so they can then contact you to let you know that they have paid for your order. So it's just a new thing that they're doing. I don't think this is an excuse to go out and buy 6 times as much stuff for the potential to have it paid for. But if you happen to be using the link down below, this is like an added bonus. Potentially 5% of those people are going to get that order for free. So thank you, Olight, for doing this. Hopefully this will work out well and they can continue it in the future. All the information that you need is going to be in the Google document. I will also be doing a couple bullet points in the description as well. First tool we're going to talk about is the OTackle K1. Now, if this looks familiar, it's because it's a direct rebrand of the next tool, Multitool. Kind of similar to how they did it with their little mini sailor. They did the same thing with that. The nice part about getting one through Olight, though, is that then you can take advantage of their manufacturer's warranty, right? They cover this the same way they cover their flashlights, meaning that it's going to be free from defects and all of that for as long as basically you have it. So I kind of like that kind of advantage from buying it directly through Olight. Now to start, it actually has a pair of tweezers built in. It has an aluminum scales with steel liners. And yeah, I like the construction. It's nice and narrow. I don't know if it's small enough that I'd actually be happy to put it on my keys, but as a 5th pocket carry or something to fit in an organizer, yeah, I'm all for that. Now the scissors are really interesting because they actually have serrations. You don't see that very often, and I'm pretty happy with the way these cut, I'll be honest. Even out at the tip, they actually have very, very good precision tip, nice and firm, and definitely makes a good cut all the way out there. So color me impressed. This is actually a very well done scissor, and even though it has an integrated spring, oh, I probably should show this, it does not move, does not move as you press it. So a lot of times, like in the Victorinox 84mm, when you press, it actually moves out of the way, which can actually be difficult to make cuts. So this does not have that problem. Now on the other side, we have 2 things. We have a relatively small blade slip joint here in 5CR. So that's a little bit better steel than the rest of the components, which are all in 3CR, and this is the last thing they have. So a small flathead, can opener, and bottle opener combo. Now, this is always my problem, is that they get the blade pretty well, they get the scissors, but then they kind of like throw something in there. I feel like this could have been thought through a little bit better. Does it function? Actually, it does. I have to say it does, but this also opens a bottle as much as this does. So it kind of has redundancy that doesn't need to be there. They could have kind of closed this off and maybe put a nail file right there, and then they would have had a combination tool that makes a lot more sense. Just my personal thoughts, but for the price, you know, it's still pretty good. I think these are running like $10 or even less on Olight's website. So I'll put a listing so you can kind of see what these are running. The other thing that they have is a titanium carabiner. So the thing on the outside is a scalpel holder. So this is a number 10 scalpel, but I believe it should work with a number 11 as well. So those two should work. The difference is the number 11 is kind of a straight angle with the triangle. It looks a little bit more like a craft blade number 11. And so I think that that might be better personally, if it were me. And it is a slip joint. Now I think, no, this one does not have a half stop. So the one thing they could easily do here, give me a half stop so that it actually can, if it does collapse, it automatically stops at a certain point. This one does not have that. Still, it's fine. Nice and thin on this, so that's a big advantage. And the other thing is, you can see you can open up these sections independently, but there's also a lock that kind of keeps them locked independently as well. So that locks this side, and then if I go all the way, it locks both gates. So if you want something a little bit more secure, this actually is kind of a clever little design. And I'm always looking for some sort of small utility knife to open packages and so on. So I kind of like this. I think I would have liked it better had it been a number 11, because also the number 11 has a slightly shorter blade, which would give me more finger real estate without having to worry about it. But as long as you're opening it two-handed, you're not going to have to be too afraid to cut yourself. You're not going to want to be poking things, but definitely good for draw cutting. So yeah, this is the O-Tackle R2. Seems fine to me. It depends a lot on the price, which is right here. And honestly, I haven't seen the price for this one. So I will let you know what my opinions are on the price value prospect. But let's go ahead and move on to the flashlights, which is frankly the big part in this particular sale. Let's talk about the Arcflex. Now this, I got a lot of questions. I'm like, did you see the Arcflex? Yes, I've had it for a few weeks now and I've really liked it, I have to say. So let's go over the basic stuff. First and foremost, it's very similar in form factor to the original Arcflex. And this is kind of, even though it's a different name, it's the same sort of genre. It's these flat flashlights. One of the differences though is you're not seeing any buttons on the front. You still have the battery indicators right there, as well as the output, but you also have a side switch versus the top switch here. So this is designed to activate one of the two modes. And if you have the Pro version, it activates one of 3 different setups: UV, laser, and white light. Now, the user interface is very similar. So when using the light, it works just like almost every other flashlight from Olight. Hold press for moonlight, double press for turbo, which is 1,000 lumens, and then triple press for strobe, that kind of thing. It basically is the same setup as you would expect from any Olight. So that's great. And the side switch, I really like the texture of it. It's very easy to find. So all of that is really good. Also, check out this pocket clip. This is one of the biggest pocket clips I've ever seen from Olight, and I really like it. So there's a couple of things about it that makes it good that not everyone's talking about. When you have the head down in your pocket, the only part that's sticking out is this small little piece of metal. Why that matters is when you're walking by something or getting close to a door frame, sometimes the pocket clips can catch on the door and actually bend. And the more metal that's exposed, the more likely that is to happen. And I've had a couple of Olight clips bend on me because some of it was sticking out. You know, they have they basically were like this, where this much was out. And so I really like that you can actually put this down and it actually works well. Now let's talk about the claim to fame here, the actual flexible head. It's not flimsy, it's not soft, it really kind of holds it nicely and nice and firm. Real nice and firm, this flashlight, very firm. And I love that it doesn't accidentally change its direction. So that's really good. One other note about the light. This has a maximum output of 1,000 lumens. You would expect it to have a lot more than a single emitter, like in the original. But there's a reason why you're not going to get more light. And I think Prepared Guy did a much better explanation of this. He used some heat imaging to also show you. When you have 2 different pieces, the heat doesn't really conduct from the head all the way to the body. And that's an important thing with flashlights because it allows the flashlight heat, which a lot of it is generated, to travel all the way to the back. And aluminum is such a good material for this because it is very good with heat conduction. This doesn't have that benefit. So you really can't go above that 1000 lumens without causing problems with the turbo mode. The other thing that I want to bring up is it could have been perfect. And I like it as is, but I would love this light to be in a high CRI. So hopefully they will bring it with something like a Nietzsche 519A. Then, yes, it wouldn't even have 1000, it might have 750 lumens, but my God, it would be so nice to have that warm light that's easy on the eyes. So hopefully they will do that in the future. Now let's talk about some experience. I actually took this with me backstage for part of a production, and it was fantastic for a couple reasons. Number one, you can obviously attach it to a hat. Now the way to do it is actually upside down like this. Here, let me show you. With this hat over here. So we have an attachment just like so, and that allows me to bend it in any direction that I'm working on in front of me. It doesn't go straight out, so I don't have to move my head. I can just simply move the light. Huge advantage. The other thing is when I'm lending it for someone who doesn't wear a hat, there's another way to use it hands-free. You set this up on your collar, and then you can bend the head upwards and adjust it however you see fit, whether it's straight ahead or a little bit down, you get to choose. So that is another great way to use this light. Then of course, the third way being the magnet, which as you can see, I immediately found use as a hallway light just because I was worried that somebody might trip in the dark. So there's a lot of advantages to this. I didn't expect a lot of different ways to use the flashlight. So this flashlight as well as the Arcflex Pro are probably my two favorites right now. For the Arcflex Pro, you have UV laser as well as reversible clip and a lot more runtime. And this one has a lot of versatility in how things can be attached. So between those two, I think you have most things covered. The UV version as well as the laser feel like the odd men out right now. Let me know what you think though. Would you rather have the Flex, the original laser version with this one-way pocket clip, the UV, or the Pro? Now I don't have the other two with me to showcase, the Pro being a little bit just slightly bigger than this one here, but all of them are really quite good, and I didn't expect to like all of them, but now I'm confused which one I like the most. It's gonna, I think, be between the Pro variation as well as the Flex, both of which are on sale right now, so just keeping that in mind, these are good flashlights and they're worth a look. So firstly, I want to make a small apology because I didn't get as much time with this flashlight as I would have liked, and it's my own fault because when I looked at the box, I'm like, oh, it's a Seeker 4 and it's probably the same thing. And so I didn't open it for a little while. Come to realize that there are a lot of changes that they made to this model versus the Pro variation. And so it definitely is worth a separate video in and of itself. So the first thing that is really of note is that this is the second flashlight in recent memory that has added a Type-C port built into it. So this, even though it is exposed, you know, this is just a small covering to kind of keep dust out. Even though it's exposed, this is still an IPX8 waterproof flashlight because they use a waterproof Type-C port. So pretty interesting design. And definitely a nice consideration because most of their flashlights use their proprietary charging system. The other big difference between this and the Seeker 4 Pro is the emitter setup. So you can see here we have a I think it's a TIR lens is what you call it. And basically that creates a very wide beam pattern. So what you have is a very diffuse pattern versus a very tight pattern. So I hope you can kind of see, let me turn down the light a little bit. You can kind of see this a little bit better. So definitely a big difference in beam pattern. Now I use these lights, both of them, turn this up a little bit. I use these lights during the production that I was part of in the back. And I did find that I preferred one over the other quite a bit. So the Seeker 4 ended up being a preferred flashlight because there was times I needed to see something at distance, and this was much, much, much better at that. So this has a maximum output that is lower, but has a much longer reach. So over 400 meters for this flashlight versus the 260 meters for the Seeker 4 Pro. So really interesting considerations. The other thing that's different with that port is that means there's no magnet on the bottom, which one of the advantages of this light was that you could attach it to anything ferrous and it would actually hold and you can use it hands-free. So there is some give and take. Now, like anything, it just compensates for itself because this is actually a more expensive flashlight by a significant margin. So this starts out at 140, well, this starts out around 100. So there's kind of a back and forth that's happening between these, and they are different enough that I think they're justifiable. Now, the Seeker 4 Pro comes with a vertical sheath, and it allows it to be Type-C charging. And I think that this is actually a better setup than necessarily including Type-C on it. It's weird. I know that this is what people have wanted, and I actually think this is such a good design that I'd prefer this because I end up using this with the holster all the time, even though it's not really directly designed for it. So the Seeker 4 will work with the same holster, and the horizontal one, which you can buy separately, is a fantastic addition to this flashlight, letting you use it hands-free, and you can walk with it and you don't have to worry. It'll stay on and you don't have to mess with it. I love that about this light with the holster. So definitely a consideration to get the horizontal holster, and that does not come with either of these two flashlights. You have to buy them separately. This comes with the vertical version. I think where things get even more confusing is they also have the Baton 3 Pro Max. All three of these flashlights have the same 21700 battery. But you can see there's a significant size difference between the Seeker 4 and the Baton 3 Pro Max. There's a bigger difference between these two than there is between these two from an output perspective. Both of these are floody, where this reaches out a lot further. So this is more of a thrower versus this being floody. I hope that kind of clarifies it. Hopefully it'll help you make a choice if you choose to get any of these. But yeah, I think the Seeker 4 was better than I expected and is now two lights that have a built-in Type-C port that I have seen. So maybe they're trying to cater to the European market. They're trying to kind of get some things creeped in there. I don't know the exact requirements that they need in order for these lights to be sold, because I know the proprietary charging bases are not something they want in Europe. So I'm curious to see if this is part of that. Let me know down in the comments if you think that that's a consideration, or it's just they're trying to have a variety of different charging options. Well, that's basically it as far as products that we have on the table. Now, there's a lot more stuff that's on sale, and the good news is that all of these items ship directly from their warehouse in Virginia, so you should be able to get it way before Christmas, which is a huge bonus. And if you do make an order through the link down below, make sure to come back and put in the order number so you can potentially get it for free. As always, guys, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and we'll talk again soon.